Hi everyone, it's Mike here and welcome back. So today is Saturday the 1st of July. So with it being the first day of the month and the first Saturday, it's time for Mission Inspiration over in our Facebook group. So let me turn over to my overhead camera and I'll show you the prompts for July, and then I'll go through what I'm going to do for my art journal page for this month. Okay, so this is the prompt sheet for July. So we've got some fairly straightforward kind of prompts for the month. So glue strips of newspaper or magazine, cover with a thin wash of colour, add random stamping, make marks with your fingers, haha, we're going to get messy today, and then add colour through a stencil. I don't think we've used a stencil in quite a while for Mission Inspiration. Glue a focal image or images. Add a poetry quote or phrase. Lovely stuff. And then create a border or a frame around the page. Excellent. And now five words for inspiration, I can't count this morning, are flight, orange, trace, rise and talk. Okay, so glue strips of newspaper or magazine. Well, I've got these left over from when I did my recent Smash My Stash creating the 6-inch journal, so I think I'm going to use up some of those. But for the other stuff, stamping, stencil, focal image, poetry quote or phrase, I'm going to have to go and have a root and do a little bit of collating or collecting or curating, depending on which C word you want to use. Right, I better go have a look and I'll be right back. Right, I'm back. So, this is the next page in my 2023 Mission Inspiration journal I created at the beginning of the year. That was last month, if you remember. So let's pop the prompts over there, and I'll try and kind of like do these in order. The prompts in order, if you like. So, I've got matte medium, so I need a brush. Have I got one to hand? Yep. Let's grab some bits and bobs. I've forgotten to grab some kitchen towel. That's okay. I don't think I'm going to need too much. Right. So slap it on. So the first one then is glue strips of newspaper or magazine. So I've got this pile here. Let's give that matte medium another squeeze. So what we're going to do is glue some down like so. Just give it a real good coating over the page. That's not going to make much difference. It's just matte medium, so it's not going to affect the page opposite. Right, so first strip then. Let's just glue that down. Like so. And then I'll just quickly grab some scissors and then just snip off. I suppose I should have done this beforehand. Seeing as it's not very tidy, but you know. Let's see what else we've got. We've got this lovely kind of greeny one. So we'll cut that about there. And we'll do that upside down. And I don't really mind if there's any wrinkles in this. We could just overlap it a little bit. Just because we can. Okay, and then we've got this piece here, so we'll do that about there. And then we've got space, I think, for one more. And probably just enough matte medium for one more too. So let's finish off with that map strip, shall we? So let's do there. And then I'll just snip off bit at the top, just because, like that. I think that's dried really quickly. It's a fairly warmish day today, so I'm not surprised that it's kind of dried real quick. Right, excuse me. There we go. That'll do us quite nicely. And because we've added the matte medium, that's also given us a bit of a key. So we don't need to use gesso. That's fine. So we'll drop that in the water. And then we'll get that dried off. Okay, so I've got the page dry. It still feels a little cold, which tells me that it's not 100% dry, but it's dry enough for us to do step number 2. So we've got newspaper on magazine. So next is cover with a thin wash of colour. Okay, so I've got some translucent paints here. So I think I'm going to cover with a little bit of yellow ochre. So I could do it with orange, because orange is a word there, but I don't really have, well, I suppose I do have an orangey one, but it's not the sort of colour that I want for the background. So let's just grab another brush. Now it says a wash of colour, so that means I'm going to need a little bit of water. So let's add some water there. And then let's get it nice and loose. Now you could, because we've used the matte medium to glue that down, I could use a baby wipe to spread some of this paint, or a brush. So we've gone for the brush. So this is kind of darkening it all down again. So let's just add some more colour into that mix. See if we can get it a bit more pigmented, a bit darker. Give it a nice bit of, it adds a nice kind of like aged effect, does the yellow ochre. So this is one of the colours that I picked for the last indigo blue paint release, one of the kind of Renaissance colours. Okay, so we've got that first layer down, not quite dark enough for me just yet, so I'm going to dry it and then I'm going to add another layer. Let's see how it adds a really nice kind of aged effect. Let's get that back in the water, because I think this time I'm going to add some colour with a baby wipe. It's a dirty brush, but never mind. So let's grab some colour, just drop it on the page, about there, and then get a clean baby wipe. Right, I'm going to squeeze it just to get rid of some of that excess water or moisture, so the baby wipe is now just damp. I mean, you could, if you wanted to, use one of those Tim Holtzy foams just to spread it around as well if you wanted to, or a bit of sponge. But I like the effect you get with the baby wipe. There we go. We'll go again. Excuse the chair noise. I think it needs tightening up. Some real squeaky noises. That's added a nice kind of yellowy background to it. But before we finish, let me just grab, there's another colour I want just to add a little bit into, a bit of green. So if I can find it, that means it's not in my tub, which means I didn't put it away, which is unfortunate. Alright, so we'll have to change tacks then, so let's grab some of that orange. There we go. And I'm just going to grab some from the lid. And just rub a little bit. Just really kind of age it down a bit. Or warm it up, depending on your point of view. There we go. Alright, so that'll do. So we've used orange. That at least ticks that one off. So I need to have a bit of a hunt round now to see if I can find where that... Oh, look at that, it's right in front of me. That's the colour that I was looking for. Don't believe it. Oh well, never mind. What's done's done. Right, let's get this dried off. Okay, so orange, thin wash of colour. We'll get in there. Add random stamping next. Right, so from my collection, I've got the crackle stamp. So this is a little crackle stamp. Little crackle. Alright, so what we're going to use colour-wise on this, I think I'm going to stick with that kind of warm colour. Or shall I go with... Let me have a look quickly. I could use orange zest or pumpkin, but I want something a bit darker than that. So we've got spiced tea and ganache, citrus, teal, black, cloudy sky, so that's kind of like a grey colour. That one speaks to me at the moment. Cloudy sky. I'll leave the spiced tea out as well. Right, let's see what that one looks like. I'm not going to put it on a block. So let me just ink up and then we can just add God, this chair really is creaky, isn't it? Crackler. I'm just going light. I'm just pushing just gently with my finger. So that was the cloudy sky. So without changing or wiping it down, I'm just going to go straight in with that tea. That'll do. Okay, so we've randomly gone around the page. Now, because we've used StazOn, which is a solvent-based ink, we don't have to give it too much time to dry. Just give that stamp a quick wipe with a baby wipe. Let's pop it away. While I tidy up and wrestle with packaging, I'll be right back. Okay, so add random stamping. Next one, make marks with your fingers. Right, okay, so I've got my Faber-Castell Pitt pens, and rather than make marks, I'm going to use my fingers just to kind of create a bit of interest into the background. So these Faber-Castell Pitt pens are India ink. So what you're allowed to do, what you can do with them is you can smear and smudge and blend the ink until it dries, and then once it's dry it becomes permanent. So you can get some really nice kind of subtle effects, providing you're quick enough. But once you've got the ink down, if you put ink over the top again, you kind of can blend them together. So let's just grab some of that ochre again, that nice yellow. So if you think you've gone a bit too dark in certain areas, then you can always kind of blend it out. Okay, it's a bit of a brown. This one's nearly run out. So look, what's this one? Sanguine, like a dried blood colour. Just adds a little bit of warmth. There we go, that'll do. You don't really have to go mad with these things. As long as you've got a little bit, you've used your... I've actually put those away straight away, which makes a change for me. Okay, so yeah, so just adding a little bit, you know, even if it's just a touch, is fine. Right, so next then, add colour through a stencil. Right, okay. I've pulled out from my stash a really, really old stencil. This is probably one of the first stencils I ever bought when I started doing art journaling. This is from TCW, the Crafters Workshop, and this one is called Art Is. So it's just a little bit of text about what art is, basically. So we're going to do that. So let me grab a sponge. Just a small bit, and then I've got that ganache colour again, so I'm going to just add some of that wordage. Wordage is a great word. It's a great word to describe it, isn't it? The text. And it doesn't have to be legible. That's not really working that well, is it? Let's grab, go on, let's grab one of them foams in order to get a better impression. Stick that back in the corner. There we go. We've got a bit of text there. like I said before, it doesn't have to be totally legible, as long as you've got that kind of impression. There we go. Bit of text there, bit of text there. Okay, so we've got right in there. I've also got this other old stencil. I believe this one's called Specimen. So we can add some of that into the background as well, just as a bit of grunge. There we go. Don't think I've used this one for a long time. You go through periods where you use certain stencils a lot and then you don't seem to use them at all for a long time, and then they suddenly become like new again. Typical. That moved. There we are. They get put away. You forget that they're there. So a little bit of that up there. There we go. Nice subtle stenciling. Alright, so what's next on the list? Okay, glue focal image or images. Okie dokes. Right, so I've looked at the words for inspiration here. So I've got flight, so I've gone for a bird. And this is the image that I'm going to use. So I've only cut it out roughly, but I'm not going to go completely mad and even attempt to fussy cut this completely. I'm just going to do what I call close to, so leaving a little bit of a border, but just a small one. So because I've had far too many cups of coffee today to even attempt to do any real kind of intricate fussy cutting. So I will cut this out and I will join with you again once it's done, because, you know, watching somebody cut something out, yep, is just the same as watching paint dry. Okay, so my image is cut out, so we're going to matte medium. So I'll move my page over. I'm going to put some, come on, there we go. Alright, grab another wet wipe. So we're going to paint the page. Now, because we've used permanent inks, permanent paints, then none of this should theoretically move. None of the stenciling that we've used should, in theory, move. I need that to curl straight up like that. It's got to be very delicate. It doesn't matter if you get any on the front because you're going to be going over it anyway, as long as it doesn't dry. Okay, so let's position that like so, and then we shouldn't theoretically get any wrinkles or bubbles because we've added the adhesive onto the back as well. You may get the odd one or two. Sometimes bubbles and wrinkles are okay, you know, they're all part and parcel, but sometimes you just don't want them. So I've got a little bit of a dry throat today. So that looks like there's a line of bubbles right the way through, but it isn't. It's where it's joined underneath. The strips of paper have joined. Okay, just clean that up. Right, we'll get this dried off and then I'll be back. While that's drying or cooling down a bit, I've got my poetry quote, which is the next one on the list. So we've glued our focal image or images. So add a poetry quote or phrase. So I did a bit of searching and found this little poem. There was no name to say who had done it. It's just one of these things that you find on Instagram. But there was no name. So I can't really give any credit for it. But I thought it was just really, really cute. So this is what I'm going to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint over the top of this with the translucent paint, the yellow ochre translucent paint. And then dry it. I've got schmutz on my finger now, look. And then dry it, and then I'm going to cut it out. Because this is translucent, you'll be able to still see the text. It's not going to cover the text at all. I'm just going really lightly so that I don't pill the paper. Sometimes you don't want stark white quotes or phrases or words on your art journal pages. That, you know, sometimes they do want to stand out and they do want to pop, but sometimes you just want to be a bit subtle, and using a translucent paint will definitely do that. Here we go. And I've not gessoed or anything, so all I've done basically is just stained the paper. Okay, so let me just give that gentle heat, dry it off, and then I'll be back. Okay, that's now dry, so I'm going to just snip out the quotes. Now I've just got to make sure that I get them in the right order. So what I ought to do is just put a number on the back. So that's number 1. And then number 2. Number 3. And finally, number 4. End. The end. Okay, so let's clear some space. So now we've got the quote, we'll bring the page back in again. And I think I am going to carry on using the matte medium. So just clean the brush. So let's do some spacing. See, I've got those the wrong way around, haven't I? That's it. I actually got them the wrong way around. Whoops. But never mind. Okay, so glue. Come on. So small brush. And then I can just a little bit to the back. There we go. Fairly straightforward, he says. When art journaling, nothing is straightforward. Right. Just got to be kind of quick when adding the matte medium onto the back of your bits. So if you've got good eyesight or you've a big enough screen and you can read the poem, that's cool. But if you are watching on a smaller screen and haven't been able to read the poem just yet, I will read it out to you in a little while. And then you'll be able to see it. I didn't paint the back of that one, did I? Oh, see, look. Too busy talking. So a really nice kind of aged effect that we've got today. Aged distressed. Alright, I've just cleared that up. Let me just quickly dry this off and then I'll be right back. Okay, so the quote reads, and let's just see if we can zoom in a little bit and just make sure that we are focused. There we go, that's better. Okay, so the quote reads, I'd like to think that I could fly, to lift my feet and touch the sky, to soar above, look down below, and never know just where I'd go. And if I could, oh, what I'd see. Earth would never be the same to me. Oh, if the wind would carry two, I'd hope that I could fly with you. And hand in hand we'd chase the stars and lock them up in pickle jars. We'd laugh and smile, then set them free to twinkle for eternity. I love that. Absolutely love it. So, now, we've stuck down our quote. Now all we need to do, oh sorry, it's all about flight and flying. So, you know, artistic license and all that. So the last one is create a border or frame around the page. So, okay, we've got the pen. So let's just add a little bit of kind of pop, just to say So there's plenty of darkness in the background to be able to get away with doing this kind of border frame around your quote blocks. And then for the border, we'll just go for that usual kind of scribbly, kind of doodly border, like we've got on this side. So it kind of makes them a pair, doesn't it? A pair. A pair. Oh dear me. Was it Charlie Brown used to say? Oh, good grief. And then finally, there we go. So there's our border around the page. And I think I'm going to call that a day. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sign that over here and put today's date, which is the 1st of July 2023. So there we go. So I think, even though I've only kind of squeezed in 2 of the words for inspiration, I have got all of the ingredients in the page, so I think that's mission accomplished, don't you? So that's it for me for today. So don't forget, if you want to have a go at joining with us in our Mission Inspiration Facebook group and the art challenges throughout the month, then all you have to do, that's the URL on the screen there. There's also a clickable link in the description area below, so if you just want to click that, pop across, ask to join, and then you can join in with us and share your projects too. So I hope you've enjoyed me creating this. If you have, please remember to give the video a thumbs up, because it really does help me and the channel. And don't forget, you can share the video with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video to get more videos and more art journal pages and mixed media projects just like this one. So that's all from me for now. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye for now. Love that birdie. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. And don't forget, you can access your exclusive angel-only content over on my website. There's a link in the description area below. Thank you.